FreeMMOStation.com.
Hey friends, welcome to FreeMMOStation. My name is Skylint, and today we're going to be talking about a game called Paragon. This is a free-to-play MOBA by Epic Games, so you kind of should expect a lot from this game. Now, I am going to nitpick it because of that. This game has a pretty big publisher developer. It's being pushed extremely hard for both PlayStation 4 and PC, which it's cross-platform with. Use the same account, play with PC players on PS4 and vice versa. So you can see this game on store shelves. You can see obviously graphically, aesthetically, this game has had a lot of polish, has had a lot of time put into making it look real good. So I will nitpick its mechanics and its actual game feel. So you ready for that? Also, I'm a platinum player in Smite. I play that a lot too, and I play a lot of just hero shooters and MOBAs, period. Not to brag or anything, I play them a lot. Okay, so I kind of know a little bit what I'm talking about. Now, in saying that, actually I haven't played too much Paragon. I have played a little bit. I would say enough to definitely warrant a first impression, but I can't say it's a full review because the game isn't completely completed. I haven't acquired every card, I haven't played with every single character in every single role, so yeah, you know, and the game is in early access. Only just now was able to really attempt the jungle for the first time because we're really getting those jungle items and the jungle is finally being fully furnished, but whatever, man. We got a lot to talk about, so let's dive into it, okay? I'm going to try to keep this somewhat shorter, you know, around 10 minutes or something like that. So if you're ready to, you know, hear some verbal diarrhea, open up your earballs, let's go. Paragon does look good. It looks good, and if you play on the PlayStation 4, which this entire video was done on, then yeah, it's going to be fine, I guess, if you play on a TV. But if you sit real close, kind of like I did. Now, I did play on my PC monitors, and then I switched it to my 720p TV, and I sat on the couch. I got the best of both worlds, and I have played on my computer with, you know, my computer screen and everything. I have played on those, so I know the absolute difference, okay? So if you're gonna sit there and play on a monitor with your PlayStation 4, play this game, you will absolutely notice the differences. The frame rate is fine, it really is, it's 60 FPS, though I recorded it in 720p, 30 FPS. The frame rate it seems 60 and it seems completely stable. However, there is definitely some sacrifices with that when it comes to, you know, the graphics. Now, this game still looks good, and you can tell the post-processing, the lighting effects, and the overall geometry of the map. It's very interesting. It's not super cartoon and jagged like it is in Smite, but, you know, you're still gonna get a resolution dip, and there is, it's kind of hard to explain, and every time I try to explain this, it's a little bit awkward. But the frame rate is going to be stable, the overall frame rate. However, there's a dynamic frame rate shift. And you're going to notice this in other PlayStation 4 games, I think most notably Bloodborne, which is locked at a certain frame rate, but then the animations of certain monsters, especially in the distance, you're going to see them kind of like skip and stutter like they're at 4 FPS or something. And you're going to notice that in this game, just a little bit. You're not going to see too much of that until maybe the end game when there's lots of minions on the map and they kind of get all huddled up. Then it's not just in the distance. Then you're going to really notice it's going to be right in the forefront. But at the start of games and everything, just a normal gameplay for the majority of the time, you're not going to notice those frame rate skips. What you will notice is the resolution difference. Even if you're playing on a 720p TV, you know, on your couch, if you have good eyesight, you're going to still notice that your character, the back of your character, looks a little bit blurry, a little bit pixelated. But overall, the game still looks pretty good. I actually haven't played Smite on the PlayStation 4, so I don't know the direct comparison with that. But on PC, you know, the difference from PC Paragon to PS4 Paragon is absolutely apparent, but at least it's playing at 60 FPS, and I think most people would agree that's really the most important thing. And now let's move on to the controls. By the way, guys, don't know if it was apparent from the title or not, but this is directly, you know, reference to the PlayStation 4 Paragon. We will talk about a lot of the general updates that has happened since our last first impression, but overall, this is really going to focus on the PlayStation 4. So let's talk about controls. I will say the controls are intuitive once you learn them. I did find that the recall was actually not on the schematic for controls, so you actually got to right-click click in the right analog stick to recall. You don't have to hold it for a second. But other than that, all the controls are pretty much there. The voice commands are really easy to learn, especially because whenever anybody says anything, it shows up as well, just like in Smite. And, you know, there's a lot of influence from Smite in this game. And let's be honest, guys, and I think I said this in my other first impression, but it's a direct competitor with Smite. If this game actually had a cartoon, like, coloring, you know, if it kind of looked aesthetically like Smite, I think a lot of people would say it's a Smite clone. But because it has such a radically different aesthetic, people don't want to say that, and especially people who started to really like the game, and honestly, I'm starting to like the game too, but a lot of people probably want to say, it's nothing like Smite. And you're right in a couple of ways. And, you know, just a recap on some things that if you missed, you know, our other first impressions or anybody else's first impressions on this game, Basically, you don't have a normal item shop like almost any other MOBA. Even other MOBAs that had like different item shops, they still had more of an item shop. They at least had an item shop. This game doesn't have the branching evolution of skills like Heroes of the Storm or Gigantic. It still has a shop, but I wouldn't really say it's an item shop exactly. See, it's more like you have a deck of cards, and I mean, at least it's not RNG like Paladins used to be. But at the same time, it's not a deck building, or it's not like how Paladins New is. It's more like you have sort of like a cutout of what the item shop could be, right? Like, okay, imagine all the items in the whole game, and then imagine just drawing a circle around only the items that you think you might use in a match. And then that's kind of how it works. So yeah, you make a pre-built deck, and then, yeah, you kind of just build from there. So you don't have the full item shop at your disposal. Now, and then also take an inspiration from Smite. Smite has this one thing where physical attackers or people that do physical damage cannot buy magical items and vice versa. So mages aren't going to be buying, you know, things that give them attack damage. That doesn't work. Magic items actually give them their basic attack damage. So, you know, that's kind of how that splits the difference. In League of Legends and in Dota, you can do that. You can totally split the difference because of how those games mechanics work. You know, for better or worse, but there is that extra room for creativity. So the card shop, how it fully works is essentially you have these select cards that any one character could potentially use. So you have certain characters that are like, you have, I think, order cards and intellect cards. So maybe if you're a mage, you might use those two cards. And then you can use the universal cards. So you have 3 types of cards that you can potentially use. That means that you're not going to be able to use growth cards. You're not going to be able to use fury cards. So there is an even extra layer of limiting factors. So it's like Smite and then layered even more, like cut in half and then cut in half again and then cut in half again. So there's a lot of limiting factors to the game, but that's going to allow for balance. And at the same time, with certain cards, if they implement them, could add for more creativity because there's an extra layer to this card system. So normally in MOBAs, you have item shops where you buy an item and then you buy another item and you combine those items to make a new item. In this game, it's like you buy an item and then you have these upgrades and then you push the upgrades into the item. So this way, maybe it makes it a little bit less, I mean, it's more intuitive to build the items, but whenever you're competing and trying to look at the enemy team and see what items they have and what upgrades they have, it's a little less intuitive. So maybe it's easier to get into the game as a casual player, but as a competitive player, there seems to be like this vague, like fog of war that I cannot see through. And, you know, I'm just, you know, if you get to the mid game, if you start playing a couple of matches and you start to really get into the game and try to be competitive, you're going to be where I am and you're still kind of confused. Like, is this game shallow? Is it actually deep? I want to be excited, but I don't know if I should be. And that's just, you know, kind of where I am right now. So it's a little bit deeper than a normal first impressions because I have played it on PC already, and I guess I played it a good bit on PS4 as well, a couple games with at least all the different classes. Oh, but I do want to mention something. The classes are weird. They're not intuitive exactly like Smites. Like in Smites, assassins are junglers. You know, guardians are supports. Hunters are the ADCs. You get that. Mages go in the mid lane. You understand the role because of the classes, but in this game it's a little bit different, and I think it's because their own meta isn't really figured out. They're just kind of throwing things together, and a game can become really good by doing that. I mean, that's what happened with League of Legends. And, you know, League of Legends inspired other good games, so League of Legends is a pretty good staple. You know, it's fine. You can do that. You can get away by being random and creative. I understand that. But with all these years of experience, you know, League of Legends was kind of one of the first big MOBA. I think it was one of the first very official, actual, true MOBAs. You know, this is definitely taking inspiration from a lot of other games. I would expect to see more intuitive class definitions, a more intuitive meta descriptions. You know, I should be able to understand what's going on, and yeah, I still don't. I'm still playing games that go for like hours long, and I get fully built, and I still don't even know what to do with myself. Like, I mean, I understand that I'm new to the game, but I've played hours and hours in this game, and I'm not a noob anymore, but I still don't know why I'm not really understanding the flow of the game. Like, the pace of the game is probably where I want to complain the most. I could probably just talk about that. I didn't want to. But the pace of the game is still the same as it was when I reviewed it in its early impression. I mean, I will say that it's a little bit faster paced, okay? A little bit. But I still, like, you're going to have matches where you're losing from 10 minutes in, and you're going to be losing for a whole hour. I mean, really. Smite games, I think, average 20 minutes or 20 to 25 minutes. This game, I'm pretty sure the average is 30 onward. It's definitely much longer pace, and you're gonna really feel that pace, like, because you're only playing one character, you don't have any management or strategy really with the itemization too much. You're not gonna be constantly thinking about your itemization. You're not looking over, you know, through the map like a top down like in Dota 2 and spectating everything. You're definitely controlling just one person, focusing on whatever is right in front of you pretty much, and you're really gonna feel the time sinking and taking away at you. It's gonna sink its teeth into you and chew at you, and you're gonna feel it. So that kind of sucks. And I might be rambling a little bit, but so the controls are kind of intuitive. I will say, you know, you don't need like precise aiming with this game, honestly. It's not like Smite. You might have a couple of boxing matches, but you're really not gonna have the true definition of boxing like you do in Smite. You're not gonna have attack chains or anything complicated like that. Like whenever you're doing a 1v1 with somebody, it's really all about the tactics, okay, about thinking. Now I will say, since this is cross-platform, you know, mouse and keyboard probably might have a slight advantage, but controllers also have a little bit of guidance with the correct aim, the aim correction, but it's extremely light. It's almost barely there. It's almost negligible, honestly. And it's really only there just to kind of help you out a little bit. But then again, this game has pretty big hitboxes for projectiles. You know, it's pretty fair. It's pretty fine. Like, I mean, Call of Duty console versus PC, you couldn't do that. Battlefield, any like precision aim shooter, you would not be able to do that. But this game, you know, pretty big hitboxes. There's a little bit of give with it, and I think overall it's kind of fair. In fact, there might even be an argument for some assassin characters or some characters that are very melee and aggressive and agile based. Controllers might be better, maybe, potentially. Probably not. I think our mouse elitists will still, you know, win that argument. But still, you can actually be probably competitive and completely fine with the PS4 controller. Now, I will say that there's some things that I really wanted in the PS4 controller. For instance, you can't navigate the menus with the touchpad. You use the touchpad. You click in the touchpad in order to activate your item shop or the card shop, but you don't actually use the touchpad either on the back or the front to actually move the mouse cursor around, which would be super intuitive and good. In my opinion, I think that'd be cool. But, I mean, I guess they just didn't do that. So it makes the item shop just a little bit awkward. There's also some other controls that I could nitpick over and over. But basically, it's kind of intuitive, but it's not perfect. Also, like I said earlier, you know, if you look at the control scheme, some of the controls aren't quite clear, and some of the controls just aren't actually labeled. So, active items, I want to see more active items in the game, but the new characters are pretty fun. I do like the new characters they added, and I'm pretty sure they've been adding new cards, but again, since you actually have to collect the cards, haven't really felt that personally, you know. I've just seen that there's new cards, but I don't really know what their super cool effects are or anything. It just, you know, adds numbers and stuff. So again, same complaint. But the new characters do seem pretty cool. Always in a MOBA, it's focused on their characters, so having new characters is always an awesome thing. And I got to play with a couple of them. I like to see new junglers. So we got a couple of new junglers, like Chimera, which I think is maybe my new favorite character. He's pretty fun to play as. At the same time, they added the agility, but the new characters don't really seem to be really taking advantage of the verticality, and I was really hoping that the new characters coming out, almost everyone from the base, you know, few that we had, I was really hoping that those would be the guys that would add verticality, add mobility, because, I mean, that's how it is in League of Legends. Past the first few characters, they've always had a mobility creep, and same thing in Smite. Smite started out, you know, hit the ground running, huge mobility creep, and that's really fun in these action games. So Paragon, kind of, you know, basing itself in action roots, with the Unreal Engine, you would think it'd be more physics-based, it would be more action-packed, but really, characters, even the new characters, aren't really taking advantage of the verticality. Actually, in fact, Chimera doesn't even have, like, skill shots. It's actually point and click. You have to actually get close enough to an enemy, and it locks on. So, super disappointing with that. I mean, it's cool we get new characters, and, you know, cool kits, and that interacts with the whole, you know, MOBA thing pretty well, I agree. But still, man, there's way more creativity being pushed out, even from Smite, when characters, like, they will straight up copy characters. And yet they add the little twists that make it really fun with their physics engine and their attack chain combos, and, you know, the overall mechanics of Smite. It's fun, even if they copy something from League of Legends. But when this game is literally copying abilities from its direct competitor, you know, like Gideon, how he has a Hades ultimate directly, like, you know, you have certain abilities that are literally copied from Smite, it's a little bit different. Especially when I think overall the game is just a little bit slower paced. So once again, I think I am having fun on the PS4. I think it is cool. I think a lot of people will like it, but I think those people are probably kind of ignorant of what Smite is and probably don't play Dota 2 or other MOBA. They don't know like what a MOBA really could be like. So Paragon, it could be great, but right now in its current state, it definitely is subpar compared to every other MOBA. It's kind of sitting right in the middle. It looks prettier, and it's going to draw in an ignorant crowd, I'm going to admit it. And honestly, I will continue to play it because I freaking love MOBA, but I also have to admit that in its current state, it's not fantastic. Then again, Here's the Storm, when it first came out, wasn't that fantastic either, and then we see where it is now. It kind of was a little bit more unique though, so we will see, guys. You never know. Things can change. We saw how Paladins has changed dramatically, and it's not even released yet. So Paladins is hype right now, too, even though it kind of started as this weird pseudo MOBA thing. But now it's a totally different game. It's kind of like Overwatch. So we will see how Paragon evolves from here. Let me know what you guys think of my thoughts and the game itself and the gameplay. And I would just want to end this by apologizing. My capture card broke, so I had to film this with the share button on PlayStation 4, 720p, 30 FPS. Please forgive me, guys. And if you want to go support me, so maybe I can get a new capture card, go to my Skylink Games YouTube channel. That's Skylink Games. Or like and subscribe here at FreeMMOStation. I guess you could do that. Always here, having fun. And hopefully, guys, I'll see you in the next one.